So let's get into some of the technical aspects of Carnatic percussion. The rhythmic underpinnings of any song is called the tala. And this is a metrical cycle that continues at a constant tempo throughout the piece. Now, one of the most common of these talas is adi tala, the 8-beat cycle. And you can see that there are 3 different hand or visual gestures that go with this. The CP refers to a clap, normal clap. The WV refers to a wave, so kind of like an upside down clap. And the F5, F4, and F3 refer to finger taps. So if you were doing this cross-legged, you would do this on your thigh. I'll show you on my hand. F5, F4, F3. So pinky is 5, finger 4, finger 3. All right, so how about you try this with me? All right. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Clap, finger 5, finger 4, finger 3. Clap, wave, clap, wave. Clap, finger 5, finger 4, finger 3. Clap, wave. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. Now when I'm saying the numbers, you'll notice that not all the numbers are easy or consistent to say with your mouth. So when you say 1, it's 1 syllable. But when you say 7, it's 2 syllables. Or when you say 3, there's a consonant cluster at the beginning of this word. And you would have the same problem if you went to India and tried to say numbers 1 through 8 in any of their languages as well. So the Indian pedagogues, music pedagogues, came up with a system of CV syllables, as you can see, and the only exception is that you might have a voiced bilabial at the end of a syllable once in a while. And this is a way that you can say things faster because it's more consistent. All right? So why don't you try it again with me, and this time we'll say it with the syllables. 5, 6, 7, 8. Da, ga, di, mi, da, ga, do. One more time. Da, ga, di, mi, da, ga, do, na. So this is Konnakol. This is the art of expressing rhythms with vocal syllables. This was developed originally for pedagogy. So a teacher could say to a student, play this, thakadimi thakajuna, and the student did, whatever he needed to do on the drum. But it's become an art form in its own right. And now, just like you heard in The Life of Pi, you can hear vocal artists doing this as their primary art form as part of a percussion ensemble. So this wouldn't be very interesting. Hold on, I want to show you one more thing before we go on. Here's an example of how they might translate some of these syllables into drum strokes. So num would be this particular hand-finger configuration on one head of the mridangam, that drum that I showed you earlier that Rohan plays. Or the, ki, or ka might all transfer into this other specific configuration. All right, so this would not be very interesting if for hours and hours we just sat here and had one syllable, da, ga, li, mi, right? So there's a number of ways that Indian musicians create some interest in this situation. One of them is changing the speed. So you heard it with 1 per gesture, but what if we did 2? Thaka, dhimi, thaka, juna, thaka, dhimi, thaka, juna. Or what if we went triple speed? Thaka, dhimi, thaka, juna, thaka, dhimi, thaka, juna, thaka, dhimi, thaka, juna, thaka, dhimi, thaka, juna. Or what if we went quadruple speed? Thakadimi, thakajuna, 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 thakadimi, thakajuna. Almost made it. So that's one way we can create interest. We can also create interest by changing the subdivision. So we just did 1, 2, 4, and 8, but we could do 3. Thakadimi, thakajuna, thakadimi, thakajuna, and then do multiple speeds of that. Thakadimi, thakajuna, thakadimi, thakajuna, thakadimi, thakajuna, etc. So there's a number of ways of creating interest, and I'm going to do a demonstration for you of a piece of an excerpt from a piece, and this excerpt, this formal section, is called the pharangs. The pharangs is the highest energy, most complex part of a piece, And I'm going to do it in these different speeds and groupings. It's the same excerpt redone a bunch of times. Now, for you to be a traditional Carnatic audience, you need to keep the tala with me, because that's what people would do. But I'll make this deal with you. If it starts getting frustrating or you just like to drop out and enjoy, feel free to do that too. All right, so let me get you started, and then I'll take off performing. All right, so 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ta, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, di. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, dom. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, nam. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta, dom. Kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, talam. Dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, dom, tam. Taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, taka, dina, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, tam. Taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, di, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, dom, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, nam, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, talam, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, dom, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, taka, dina, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, tam, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, di. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, dom. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, nam. Kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta. Dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, talang. Dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, dom, tam. Taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, taka, dina, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, tam. Taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, di, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, dom, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, nam, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, den, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, talam, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, dom, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, tam, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, tam, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. Taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, di, kita, kita, taka, tari, kita, taka, dom, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, nam, kita, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, talam, kita, taka, taka, tari, taka, dom, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, taka, dena, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, tam, taka, ta, dom, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, taka, tari, kita, taka, tam. So, I just performed that from memory, which is consistent with the oral and aural tradition of learning this music from memory. This goes back to the old pedagogical tradition of having a bunch of students living in with the teacher. And they would serve the teacher however he needed serving, and then he would give them lessons in his time and at his convenience, and then they would all get together and try to remember what he had taught them and practice together. Now that worked great in that society. But nowadays, many people are pursuing more interests than only percussion. And so some Indian pedagogues are now trying to figure out how they're going to work in this society, and they're thinking about developing notation as a mnemonic device so people can remember what they've been working on in their lessons. Now, they've been doing this for a while, like trying to come up with a notation, but they have not come up with a standardized notation. And so in that spirit, my mentor, Rowan, has come up with his own way of notating Carnatic music. So the excerpts I'm going to work from now are from a piece called Misra Musings. You can see noted at the bottom there. Rowan wrote this for his students to teach them some of the principles. And you'll see we've moved into a 7-beat tala now, because one row is equal to one tala. And then one cell within each row is equal to one beat of the tala. So in this 7-beat tala, we have 2 waves, followed by a space, clap, space, clap, space. And we'll come back to that. Now, in terms of knowing what you're supposed to say as a musician, the syllables and the hyphens all get the equal amount of sound, but the syllables mean you say that syllable, and the hyphen means you're quiet for that duration. If something's underlined, it goes twice as fast. So I'll perform this excerpt for you a moment. 5, 6, 7, tamden. Ka nam den. Ka nam nom kita taka tamden. Ka nam den. Ka nam nom kita taka tamden. Ka nam den. Ka tadi dom no dida dom ka tamden. Ka nam damkin. Ka dom ka tam. As you can see, it's only a mnemonic device, right? Because you could never read at that speed actually when performing. All right, so one advantage of being handed some kind of notation from Rowan is that I could get further. I could remember things better. I could reproduce our lessons better. I also didn't need to come up with some kind of notation system as a musicologist to be able to analyze what was happening. So I was able to get into some of the compositional improvisational principles of how they put solos together. And I'd like to share some of those with you now. First, a word about composition and improvisation. When you're a beginning Indian music student, you learn fixed repertoire. When I perform the farans, that's completely fixed, and I learned how to do it at different speeds and with different combinations of groupings. But the idea is that over time, an Indian music student would learn improvisational principles and would start playing around with it a little bit until the final goal is that your performance would be a piece that you actually improvised / composed right on the spot during the concert. So in order to do that, you need to learn some principles, and here are some of the principles. Principle 1 is you always introduce changes gradually. So you'll see the change that's happening here is we're moving from duple into triple time. But Rowan doesn't move into it just in one line. He gives a little hint of it, and then another little hint of it, and then he moves into triple completely. So it would sound like this. Tamden, ka nam den, nam kaden, tamden, ka nam den, nam kaden, tamden, etc. Principle 2 is you want to build energy. So you move from simpler to more complex throughout one line, as well as throughout a whole formal section in a composition. So in this example, I've highlighted the squares where an extra syllable or an extra bit of stuff has been put in to make it more complicated. And so I'll perform this so that you can watch how, this is called additive embellishment. You're working from one line and it's becoming additively more complex. Tamden, ka nam den, ka nam nom kita taka tamden, ka nam nom kita taka tamden, ka nam den, ka tadi don dida don ka tamden, ka nam den, ka don ka tamden. Okay? Third is you want to avoid repetition. Avoid undue repetition. Once or twice is all right. 3 times is no longer acceptable. So I'm going to do this unacceptably 3 times, precisely the same, so you can see what it's like. Then, kitaka, then, thi, kita di nam tacha donduka din, kitaka din, thi, kita di nam tacha donduka din, kitaka din, thi, kita di nam tacha donduka din. Okay, it's exactly the same. If you were a schooled, educated Carnatic audience, you would say, oh, she's no good, she did it 3 times the same way. What could you do about this problem? Well, you could use that principle we talked about before about additive embellishment. So you could add new things in. You could also take things out, probably near the beginning, so that you could put them back in near the end. You could also substitute. Rowan said this is like playing with Lego blocks. So you could find any sequence of 3 and stick it in the second one instead of kitaka, or instead of the end one, dondumka. Or you could change the accents, which is what I've chosen to demonstrate today. So in the principle, in the spirit of adding changes gradually, I made one set of changes in the second line, and then I retained those changes and added a new one in the third line, so moving towards more complex. So now it sounds like this. Din, kitaka din, thi, kita di namtacha donduka din, kitaka din, thi, kita di namtacha donduka din, kitaka din, thi, kita di namtacha donduka din. So it's a little bit different now. Principle 4 is you use cadences to tune your audience, to clue your audience into the fact that you're getting to the end of a formal section and you're going to move to another one. And this is a shorter than 1 tala motif that you would repeat 3 times. And you can see the word at the bottom, the themanum is the official term used to refer to this practice. So there's 3 different levels of color, white, light yellow, and dark yellow, to show this little set that's repeated 3 times. So we could be wrapping up a section. And then off we go into another section. Speaking of sections, that's principle 5, is you want to use the formal segments that people will recognize. So we have a segment called a korvai, which is a thrice repeated multi-tala cycle. So you can't repeat the same tala more than once or twice, but you can repeat a whole series of talas that make a new pattern 3 times, and that would be the korvai. You have the nadai. So you remember when we moved from duple into triple? That's the nadai section. You're featuring some kind of subdivision of the beat. And then you have the farans, which you also saw earlier, which is the highest energy, most complex rhythmic section of the piece. So we're going to put all of these together. I'm going to do an excerpt from this piece that I've been showing you, Misra Musings. You can listen for the increased rhythmic interest near the ends of the tala cycles. You can listen for the shift from duple to triple, and we'll shift back again. And you can listen for the overall build in energy from the beginning towards the end. Once again, to be a good Carnatic audience, you may want to join me in the tala. Once again, you're free to drop it whenever you would rather listen. So let's practice this quickly so you're ready for it, and then we'll perform. So it's wave, wave, clap, clap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Donka namden, ka donka namden, ka namden taka namden, ka taka namden, ka namden donka namden, ka donka namden, ka namden taka namden, ka taka namden, ka namden donka tham tamden namka, donka tham tamden namka namden, donka tham namden namka, donka tham namden namka namden, donka namka namden namka, donka namka namden namka namden, taka namka namden namka, taka namka namden namka namden tamden, ka namka namden, ka namdom kita taka tamden, ka namden namdom, ka namdom kita taka tamden, ka namden, ka tadi don dida don ka tamden, ka namden, ka donka donka tamden, ka namden namka den tamden, ka namden namka den tamka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den tamka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den tamka den tamka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den ki ta ki nam don ki ta ki nam don ki ta ki nam don tamka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den namka den ki ta ki nam don 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 den ki ta ka den kitaka den kitaka den kitaka den kitaka den titaka den kitaka den kitaka den dondon ka den kitaka den dondon ka den kitaka den dondon ka den kitaka den kichaka then, don the ka, then, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, the kicha the thog, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, the kicha the thong, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, kichaka then, the kicha the namcha don the kaden, kichaka then, the kicha the namcha don the kaden, kichaka then, the kicha the namcha don the kaden, kichaka then, the kicha the namcha don the kadon, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the kanamcha don the kadon the kanamcha don the kaden, kichaka then, the kicha the namcha don the kaden, kichaka then, the kicha the namcha don the kaden, kichaka then, the kicha the then, kicha the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, kicha kinanon tam, kicha kinanon tam, kicha kinanon di, kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, kicha kinanon tam, kicha kinanon tam, kicha kinanon di, kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, the kicha the namcha don the kadon the katam, kicha kinanon tam, kicha kinanon tam, kicha kinanon tam, taka nam dom dom ka nam dom dom ka talam ka dom ka tam, talam ka dom ka tam dom ka tam dom ka dom 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 cha, dom 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 cha, dom dom ka ta 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 cha, ta 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 cha, ta ta ka dom 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 cha, ta 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 cha, ta ta ka dom 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 cha, ta 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 cha, ta ta cha tam ta ka din ka tam ta ka din ka nam ka din ka tam ta ka din ka nam ka tam ta ka din ka nam ka din ka tam ta ka din ka di dom ka tam ta ka din ka di dom ka din ka tam ta ka din didum ka tam ta ka din ka din ka tam ta ka didum ka tam ta ka didum ka tam ta ka didum ka didum ka didum ka tam didum ka didum ka tam didum ka didum ka tam